Well, when the Carabao Cup is presented at the final at Wembley, it will be the team captain of either Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, or whoever wins tonight between Tottenham and Manchester United. An absolute belter of a tie tonight. Indeed. And we'll see which one of those two joins Arsenal, Newcastle and Liverpool in the draw for the semi-finals. You're looking forward to it?
I am. Yeah, I am. I'm going with a mixture of Arsenal and Tottenham fans. But I'm looking forward to it because I'm looking forward to seeing Amorim. I'm looking forward to seeing Spurs. I'll obviously see Daniel at some point. But I just think it's a great quarter-final. It's a great cup game, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. It's live in talkSPORT. Simon, we're gonna hear from Gabriel Jesus, who blasted them in for Arsenal last night, although the second goal was dubious and of course no VAR. We'll get to that. Are we in the unusual position this season where the Carabao Cup has become a truly coveted prize?
Well, I think it always has been. I think it always has been. I mean, Man City have won it so many times over the last 5 or 6 years. It's always been. I remember going back to the 80s. Okay, it's had this litany of names: the Milk Cup or the Worthless Cup, when it was the Worthington Cup and whatever else.
Well, there you go.
But it's always. But that's just people being facetious.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, football clubs will view it in a certain way. Would they view it as a priority? Does it? Where does it rank? It ranks Premier League, Champions League, Premier League, in the FA Cup, League Cup. But for clubs that are not going to win the Premier League, and are not going to win the Champions League, then the League Cup has significant standing. It was brought in the 60s as an opportunity for the big clubs that were knocked out of the FA Cup early to have another cup competition to play in. It attracts big audiences once you get to the significant stages of the competition. I think it's always been a significant cup. It's only certain segments of certain aspects of people's perspective that make it maybe less. Winning a cup is winning a cup. You ask Newcastle fans if they win the League Cup, what will they think of it? They'll think it's a brilliant cup to win.
Yeah. Gabriel Jesus played a major part in it for Arsenal last night. They went a goal down.
Looks like he's got a pained expression on his face, doesn't he?
Yeah.
A bit gormless.
Yeah. Well, he hadn't scored for over a year, remember, and last night he bucked that trend. So Arsenal go through, and they did well because Palace took an early lead. And Simon, you quite fancied your old team to do something last night, and they might well have done. We'll get to that. But Gabriel Jesus opened up a bit when he spoke to the top man, Sam Matterface.
He'll never go to Mikel's door to ask him, I want to play, put me to play. No, I think I try to show on the training. I know when I come on the games, when I play, I know it's not easy. And then we have a competition. Kai is an amazing player. He's scoring a lot at the moment, so I understand. But also, I know I can help. So, this is a competition. Obviously, if I come here and say he'll be quiet there, no, I'm lying. But I want to play. He'll be not happy on the bench. But at the same time, I'm professional. I respect manager's decision. I respect as well Kai. And then if I go there to ask why I'm not playing, I'm asking to take off Kai.
So fair enough. Jesus got his chance, and then he came. It was a night of rotation as far as Arteta was concerned, because some key men like Saka, Odegaard on the
they were
bench.
Rubbish in the first half, Arsenal, weren't they? They were bloody awful.
Well, this was it, and surely at that stage, your old team could have grabbed the nettle, could they not?
Well,
and
they did,
maybe
didn't they?
got themselves into more of a commanding position.
Sure, I mean, notwithstanding that, despite the fact that Arsenal were very poor in the first half, I mean, they aren't a team of mugs. You're not just going to roll over them. In the same way that Palace aren't. When I was listening to the commentary, which made me want to tear my hair out at times. Sometimes I don't know how these people get paid for uttering some of the things that they do. Maybe they say the same thing about us on a daily basis. Same
thing about you.
Well, I just listened to Alan Smith turn around and say, I think it's offside, but isn't it refreshing when a linesman makes a decision, even though it's offside? I'm like, it's not because it's my old team. It's like, what's refreshing about a linesman making a mistake? You lot have screamed like banshees for years because people make mistakes, and now you think it's bleeding refreshing because VAR wasn't there.
Well, funny you should say that. There's Dan, the Palace fan. Guys, Jesus' goal was exactly why we don't like VAR. He was level, and I have no issue with that goal standing.
Well, the rules are the rules, aren't they? If level's onside or offside, then it's irrelevant whether it was VAR or whether it's a linesman. My understanding of it was offside. The commentator's understanding of it was offside.
Yeah.
And so the fact
that it was.
Anyway, moving on from my little rant about the ridiculous nature of the biased commentary.
Enjoyed it.
I thought Palace. I was disappointed in Palace. I very rarely comment on Palace. if I'm a Palace fan and I'm watching this game still being available to us to win, Arsenal were very good in the second half, dominated the ball, changed it up, put their best players on the field, and all of a sudden the game changed, as you would expect. That to be the case. But to be starting taking your best players off when you're 2-1 down or whatever it was.
1-1. And he takes off Eze and Mateta.
And I'm looking at it going, oh, that's nice. So all those Palace fans that have slept across London, that have paid decent money to be sitting in a stadium in a cup quarter-final, that's that then. That's Palace thinking that.
What would your take on it be this morning if you went and sit with me and you were still at Crystal Palace as the owner?
Oh, I wouldn't have a public take on it because I'd leave that to the manager. And ultimately, the manager would have already said what he's going to do in this game. But the fact, if I'm an emotionally invested Palace fan going to a cup quarter final against Arsenal, and I've got an opportunity to win it, then I'd want my team to win it. Then, of course, I wouldn't necessarily assume that by leaving Eze on the pitch or other people that I'm going to make him put himself in the way of jeopardy for the next game, which ironically is Arsenal again on the weekend.
But Premier League survival is your priority, isn't it? But that's what Glasgow will probably say.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be, with due respect to Crystal Palace, because they are far better than competing to avoid the fourth bottom spot in the league, and I think they're beginning to evidence that through their performances now. I expect Palace to be quite some way away from the bottom part of the table. Whether that's a bias or whether it's looking at the team thinking, well, I've watched them this season, they're better than what they're currently performing at. They've just smashed Brighton, who don't get beaten very often and who were beaten and outplayed by Palace. And it could have been worse for Brighton. They could have got even worse beating at Palace's hands. And very rarely did Brighton get put to the sword by Crystal Palace in this day and age, given the rivalry and given the quality of Brighton. So I would have liked to have seen Palace had more of a go, but I also understand the reality is that it's not always that easy. And there are other things in the background. It's easy to make observations when you're sitting from a position of a modicum of information rather than all of it.
Sure. Up in the northeast, Newcastle go through to the semi-final. Sandro Tonali making the headlines for the right reasons. We'll check that out. We'll check out what Amorim is up to regards Marcus Rashford, who, as we understand it, isn't even part of the squad tonight and hasn't travelled to London for the match against Tottenham, a match that Mr. Jordan will be watching himself. Well, not himself, with many thousands of others. And of course, two stellar guests coming your way. Barry McGuigan will join us as we look ahead to Fury Usyk. And before that, one of the top men in F1, Christian Horner.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.